Hi there, my name is Erin Harner. I'm an integrated registered dietitian nutritionist and gut health, IBS, and SIBO coach. And today I'm going to show you how to make a lactofermented dilly beans that I just brought home from my CSA share. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do to make our beans is put about 1.5 pounds of beans into a colander and rinse them really well. You want to try and get young beans if possible, but if not, use what you have. As long as there's no signs of mold or decay, they'll be fine to ferment. We just don't want to propagate molds or other problems when they already exist in the beans. So fresh is best. Get them from a farmer's market, get them from a friend, get them from a CSA, grow them in your garden. That way you have fresh beans to ferment that will be delicious and amazing as dilly beans. So the first thing we're going to do is rinse them so that they're nice and clean. So before I get to preparing our beans, now that I've rinsed them, what I'm going to do is show you the ingredients that we need for our recipe. So to start, we need about 1.5 pounds of fresh green beans. We need a couple heads of dill. I'm going to use 3 cloves of garlic for this recipe. I'm going to use about 1/2 teaspoon of black peppercorns. This is a recipe for 1 quart jar. We've got 1 quart mason jar. We've got our canning funnel here. I'm going to put it right in the top to make it easy for us. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually put some garlic in our jar. If you do not do well with garlic, which a lot of my gut health clients do not, they react to the fructans in the garlic. You don't want to do garlic, no problem. What you're going to do instead is just leave out the garlic. These are actually absolutely delicious without the garlic. But what I am going to do is just hit it with the side of my knife. Just split it a little bit. I'm just going to take these garlic cloves and pop them into my jar. There's number 2 and there's number 3. So far we have 3 cloves of garlic in there. We're going to do about 1/2 teaspoon of black peppercorns, 3 little heads of dill. If you don't have heads of dill, what you can use is dill weed. You can use dill weed if you have that in your drawer. Or you can use dill seed, also works very well. It gives a nice flavor. But you want to have some sort of dill. That's what makes it dilly beans. Without the dill, it doesn't taste like dill at all. So that's one of the things that makes them delicious. So far we've got our garlic, our black peppercorns, and our dill in our jar. Next is the green beans. So I'm just going to stack these green beans on their side all together in a little row here. And I'm going to cut off the tips and the tails. If you want to, you can actually stack these on their sides so that it makes a beautiful vertical array. I'm not going to do that because it takes longer, plus you end up with all of this extra space at the top. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of stick them in there. If there's any beans that are looking a little funky or a little bit off, just put them to the side and put them in the compost. You don't want them in your ferment. Keep going until we get close to the top there. Let's give them a little shake. You want to pack them down pretty nicely. Get to the top, what you're going to do is you're just going to keep going until it's nicely packed, as dense as possible. Okay, so when you have your beans all nicely packed in your jar, what you're going to do is make the brine. So what we're going to do to make the brine is take 4 cups of water. We're going to use 4 cups of water and 2 tablespoons of salt. I'm going to use Redmond real salt for this recipe because I like it. I like the flavor of it. It's easy to find. And it's harvested in the US. It's full of minerals, so that's what I'm going to use. You definitely don't want to use any pickling salts or any salts that have anti-caking ingredients or any iodine. So I'm going to use 2 tablespoons for my 4 cups of water. So I'm going to put those 2 tablespoons in here. And we're just going to mix it up. Give it a nice stir. See how beautiful and pink that is because of the minerals in the salt. So we're going to do 4 cups of brine, and we've got our quart jar. We probably don't need this much brine, but we're just going to go for it. One reminder, when you're making your brine, make sure you're using really pure water. If your water has any impurities, any chlorine, any fluoride, any added minerals, you don't want that. You don't want antibiotics. You don't want junk in your water if you're going to be making ferments, because whatever you put in this jar is going to ferment. And if you have chlorine inhibits bacterial fermentation. So that's a problem because we're trying to culture the bacteria, not kill the bacteria. So make sure you have good, pure, clean water. It could be reverse osmosis, it could be distilled, it could be out of a really good water filter. Any of those will work. Just make sure you have good, clean water for your ferment. All right, so what we're gonna do now is I'm just gonna take a leaf. This is a grape leaf from my garden. I happen to have them in abundance. So I'm just gonna stick this in the top. This is just going to help keep those dilly beans under the brine. Unlike pickles, and I have another video for pickles if you want to check that out, but unlike pickles, we don't need to worry so much about the tannins. We just want to keep the dilly beans under the brine when they're fermenting. The other thing that you can use if you don't have a leaf or you have these available to you, is something like a pickle pebble. These are made by a company called Mason Tops. I love them. I've used them for years. I'm just going to put that glass fermentation weight right in the top of my jar to keep the beans under the brine. That's the trick. So in order for anaerobic fermentation to happen, all of the ferment has to stay under the brine. So we're going to slowly pour this over top until the brine comes all the way almost to the top of the jar. All right. Next thing we're going to do is take one of these pickle pebbles made by the same company. I love these and use them all the time. They're silicone, so they're super easy to wash. I'm just going to stick this right on top. Then I'm going to take my canning ring. This is just a regular mason jar canning ring, and put it right around the top like this. And then this is going to spill. I guarantee it. It's going to spill out. It's going to bubble through the top. So what I'm going to do is take a pan of some kind. It could be glass, it could be metal, and just put this in the pan. That way it doesn't make a mess all over my countertop. And if you have extra brine, which I do, this probably could have made enough for 2 jars of pickles. What you're going to do with the extra brine is you can just put a lid on it and stick it in the fridge for about a week. So if this starts to dry out and you need more brine, you already have it to top it off. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to just set this aside, out of the sunlight, cool, dry place, close to where you're watching it. I like to keep it in my kitchen, just on a corner shelf. And what you're going to do is you're just going to watch it. And in about 6 days, you're going to start to see it go from this beautiful green color to becoming more drab and more dull. And that's the interaction of the lactic acid producing bacteria making lactic acid and interacting with the chlorophyll in green beans. So that's going to make it that drab color. You're going to start to see the brine turn cloudy. You're going to start to see little bubbles come up. And that's when you know it's close to being done. So at about 6 days after you start fermenting it, what you're going to do is just take off the lid, take one out, and taste it. If it tastes like a cucumber pickle, oh, you're in the right place. You're right in the sweet spot. They have a slightly different flavor because of course they're not cucumbers, they're green beans, but they are absolutely delicious. And if your family members don't love green beans like mine don't, my kids don't love green beans, but in this form, they devour them. Like I'll be lucky if this jar lasts in the fridge for a week or 2. They love dilly beans, but they don't love cooked green beans. Very different flavor, a very different profile, and they're really delicious for you because you're culturing the vegetables, you're creating more probiotics in the vegetables, and you're actually improving the health benefits of the vegetable by fermenting it. So if you want to learn more about fermenting vegetables, I have multiple videos on this channel, so like and subscribe. And if you're wondering, like, where can I find out more about veggie fermentation? This is one of my favorite books by Kirsten and Christopher Shockey. It's called Fermented Vegetables. Go figure, great title, but it has an abundance of amazing recipes for lactofermented vegetables. So pretty much anything you'd want to ferment is in this book. So many great recipes, and I highly recommend it. Also, if you missed my dill pickle and low FODMAP pickle recipe, catch that next. All right, friends, we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.